Alright, so usually the videos are about, they've been about topics or ideas, concepts that can help you with your sort of like personal development or things of that nature. But this one's going to be just jumping straight in the deep end. This one's going to be about a state of complete non-dual awareness that I experienced a couple of weeks ago. And I just want to start bringing in the non-dual philosophy into this channel because that's a really big part of my life, and that's been like a more than monumental help in my development of myself, but then also my understanding of reality, how reality works, why things are the way they are, why I don't need to know everything, random shit like that. But for me, that stuff's important, and I can just see the practical implications of it and stuff. So anyway, I'll just start by explaining what non-duality is. Non-duality is the philosophy that everything in all of existence, doesn't matter what it is, objects, people, thoughts, memories, events, situations, all of reality, all aspects of reality, all of that is not separate from all this other perceived things. Like, everything is not separate from everything else. There's no everything else. There's only everything. There's only all there is. There's only reality. So, I'm not going to try convince you of why that is, because that's for a whole series of other videos. It's so in depth. But anyway, so like the experience I had was, actually I got to give you a bit more context. What is in my opinion, with this philosophy, what is underlying everything, all matter, all time, everything, every concept, every single degree of experience and reality, what is underlying that is consciousness at its most fundamental and truest form. It's just awareness, it's just existence, it's just being, like the verb, like it's being. And the way I experienced this directly was through, I had acid, and then me and my mate had 2 tabs each of unknown dose, but I've had them before, the same ones of my mate, and didn't produce a very intense trip, and we only had 1. So this time we had 2, and I like I like jumping in the deep end with things, because I like the opportunity to pull out tools to get me out if I'm in sticky situations, or if I'm creating sticky situations. I like being able to actually put these tools and stuff and theories I'm creating to like actually test them and stuff. Anyway, so we had the acid, it was going good, we're just chilling out. We weren't planning to go deep whatsoever, just light recreational, or I don't know what the full intention was, but it was just, let's just have some acid and have a fun, awesome day. And then we smoked a joint, about a joint and a half each, and then that kicked in. And then I remember when that was coming up, it was just like, yeah, wow, okay, I'm actually, it's starting to get pretty trippy now. And then it just kept progressing, it just didn't slow down. And I remember sitting outside of my car, because we just parked up at this spot for the whole day, and then drove home at night. And then I remember slowly thoughts like, who am I, would arise. And I've had thoughts like that before on trips, but I didn't have this non-dual context, this context of understanding what Morkai is and what I am behind this image and this body and this mind and this identity and story. So what kept happening was questions like, who am I, kept coming up, and I'd answer them, but the answer just had no merit, because it doesn't. And then I started going, well, I don't know. And then it was just like, well, wait, who am I? Who's Morkai? Wait, what? I'm losing my identity here. And then, because I've wanted this for so fucking long, and then to have it actually just happen out of the blue was so funny. It was so weird and so funny. I remember saying to my mate, I'm actually, it started in lesser degrees and it just built up. I was like, I think I'm starting to like kind of just lose my identity a little bit here, just like out casually. And then it progressed to, yeah, no, I don't know, like, I don't know who I am. And then it just kept going and going until I left my body, until I started leaving my body by, I'd just be sitting in one spot and stay still, and I would look out. And I can kind of do it now a bit. Kind of, if you're in a car, looking at the windscreen, you see everything else, and you focus on the windscreen and what's happening outside, and you notice that the car is still. It's a shell for your perception. It's a shell for your vision outside. That's what the body is. That's what your eyes are. Like, it's there's you inside here, but you out there as well. And then your body is kind of just like a condensed focus point where you perceive reality from. And then, so I started noticing that my body was, well, has been for fucking 20 years, just been a shell for this degree of consciousness to be experiencing itself, and which is me, which is everyone. Then having that understanding really helped, because I left my body. I went out and I didn't come back in properly for about 4 hours or three hours, whatever the very, very peak of that acid was. Morkai wasn't there. Morkai meant nothing. That idea of Morkai, this idea of a separate entity called Morkai, who's got his own story, his own history, has his own thoughts, all that shit, controls his life, all that stuff. Nah, that made no sense. But what it was it felt like, you know, when you put your head out the window when you're driving a car and you feel the breeze brushing in your face and it feels really nice. It felt like that, but for my consciousness. It felt like I was holding on with my body sideways like this, out of a car, going like 1,000,000 miles an hour, but being completely okay with it, knowing that I'm not going to die. And yeah, it was just so refreshing. Like, I was literally having thoughts like, wow, I've been inside this body for 20 years and I'm finally being able to actually experience myself, not just in the body that I've occupied for the last 20 years. And I'm gonna refer to myself like Morkai. I'm gonna refer to myself as the body and as the mind. I'm gonna start distancing that to give a better idea of how it felt, because that's what the inner dialogue was. When I would start separating from the body and from the mind, the body would spark up feelings of anxiety because it was uncertain of what's happening, and so was the mind. And then questions of what's real, or wait, am I even real, or what's going on? Questions like that would arise, and so the body would have a tough time with those questions. But what I would do to calm it back down was just go, it's just me. I'm just releasing out of my body back into myself, into my true self. Not staying in this perception of myself, this limited, fragmented degree of myself, which is infinity. I'm stepping back, I'm releasing, I'm surrendering back into myself, which is surrendering back into experience, like experience itself. It's not a perception, because a perception it's like a limited view of something. It's not a holistic, it's not a whole view on what's going on. This was going back into like perception itself, sort of thing. And yeah, it was a full non-dual awareness breakthrough. Like I was comprehending infinity to degrees that I've never been close to encountering before. It was really quite bizarre at the time. And I remember telling my mate, we both couldn't talk because we were both experiencing a similar thing, but we both had different contexts. My mate doesn't have a spiritual context for this stuff. He's just got his context, whatever that is, his philosophy, and he's just describing and understanding it with his background, and mine is my background and stuff. So I remember I was kind of like taking mental notes but saying them out loud and stuff, and every now and then we'd start like shit talking. But it was so weird and funny because it was just consciousness shit talking about itself, because me and my mate weren't there. Or at least I definitely know that I wasn't there. I was out here perceiving it happening. This idea of Morkai was ridiculous at the time. But yeah, in that zone, it's what it is, you know, when you're in a flow state and you're performing an activity so well, so smoothly, so elegantly, that everything's just happening without resistance, without hesitation, without prediction, without judgment, without analysis, without everything's just happening. Like full stop. The action is just being performed through you by consciousness, which is you. But it's not like, say if I'm writing or playing guitar or whatever, and I get into a flow state, Morkai's not doing anything. The body of Morkai is performing the action, but the orchestrator is consciousness. It's not me, it's not Morkai doing it, because Morkai comes back in and he thinks, and then I fuck up, and then I fucking snap a string or play a wrong note, or experience writer's block or whatever. But when you're in a flow state, it's a state of flow. That's why it's called the flow state, because everything flows so naturally and peacefully and gracefully. In Taoism from China, it's like their founding sort of philosophy. It's like Confucianism and Buddhism and all that sort of stuff. It's founded on this non-dual philosophy, this idea that nothing is separate from anything else. There's only all there is. There's only everything. And in Taoism, they describe a state of Wu Wei, which means effortless action or non-doing. Which effortless action is. It's such a good description for a flow state, because there's no effort, but yet action is being performed. Action is being taken, but it's only when it's necessary. It's efficient, effective, necessary action that can only be performed with those characteristics as long as there's no thought involved. Once thought comes into play, there's a separation from the activity, from the experience. There's a desire to predict, there's a desire to go back and analyze what you did wrong or what happened or why. There's a desire to understand, to contemplate. All these egoic desires, all these desires of form of the mind come into play, and then that's when it just kind of runs out, when it just like stops it. But yeah, so I was in a state of flow, in a state of Wu Wei, but for hours, just walking around where I am right now. This is the spot I usually drive to when I make my videos, and this is where this was home base. But yeah, just walking around in that state was awesome. It was so refreshing, because I've been experiencing reality, experiencing myself as Morkai for 20 years, and then being able to air myself out and zoom out and see what's going on and understand myself, my deeper self, my actual true self, not just a story, but the truth of who I actually am. And yeah, it was really cool. It was like, I kept saying all it took was a fucking little stick of weed for that to happen. It was like, you know, when you try to pull a tooth out and you try and try and try, and then it just comes out, or you accident, like, an event will happen that causes it to knock out, that wasn't you doing it. That was just life happening and the tooth fell out. That's what happened. My ego dissolved, or whatever degree of my ego, which felt like fucking most of it, washed away into nothingness, because all it is just a knot. Think of it as like a knot. And then what the acid and the weed did was came in kind of like, picture a hair in a knot, and then you wash it with shampoo and conditioner and it just releases it and it comes undone. That's exactly what happened. And because of where I'm at in my development of my ego, of Morkai, I was able to let that happen as effortless, as like resistance free as I could. Because I've had an experience in the past where I started pushing towards that deeper level, but I wasn't aware that that's what was happening. I had a little bit of understanding of non-duality, but nowhere near the depth I understand it now, or even experience it. And so that time I freaked the fuck out. I'm tripping too hard, take me to the hospital, that kind of trip. But this one, it was just so cool being able to just let it happen, because now I understand that when I'm running from something, I'm just running from me, from myself. And I love myself. I like to think that I love myself, and if I love myself, then I don't fear myself. And when I'm fearing myself, I'm not loving myself. And because I have the desire to love myself, then I have the desire to not fear myself. So releasing into something like that, and just not even thinking about or believing, no, I just knew that it was me. I was just releasing into me, into meanness, into what actually is, and denying that. Every time Morkai would deny that, fear would arise, anxiety would arise, like resistance in whatever form it took would arise. And then coming in with the shampoo and conditioner, I would just say, it's just me. This is just what is. This is happening. This is just what is happening, and what is happening is me right now, in this present moment. I am everything. I believe that. Like, sober Morkai believes that, and believed that prior to this experience. So why would I resist it? There's no reason to. There's only irrationality stopping me from experiencing myself as fully as I physically can in that specific moment. But yeah, it was really cool. And yeah, I feel when I was coming, because that was like astral projection, where your awareness is free of the shackles of form, because consciousness as fundamental is formless. There's no form. And then the perceived world of physical objects, the perceived world of me and you as being separate, that's form. That's form. Like, this is all form. The mind is of form. It's limited, it's finite. It can only comprehend to the extent of, like, human thought. And then when just the awareness part of you comes out of the form, dips into the formless, kind of like, I can't really think of an analogy, but yeah, it's really fucking powerful. It's really moving, and what it did was awesome, because I've known for a while now how insignificant my problems are, especially because for anyone they're actually small problems, but well, for me, they're big problems because I've let them become so big because I was unconscious about them for fucking, what, like 17 years or something? Longer than that? But just coming out of the body and seeing them and going, oh, that's what I would do. Also, I would say, oh, that's the body just freaking out. Or that's a problem with form. I don't need to worry about that. Or, and then it would kind of fizzle away. Kind of like if you're trying to do something and someone's going, oh no, but what if this happens? And then you reply in a way that sort of diminishes the need for the worry. And then they come back and go, yeah, but well, what about this then? And you keep doing it, and each time it just washes away that what if bullshit, that irrationality that person is just caught up in or identifying with. It was kind of like that, and it would just wash these little things away. But now coming back into Morkai, those problems are still of significance, but less significance than previous. And yeah, I feel like I have more. I'll explain a little bit more about the actual experience and what it felt like and looked like. What was happening was I would get shift out of my body. In the process of that happening, and this wasn't intentional, it would just happen, but it was deliberate. I was deliberately doing it, but not in the traditional way of very hard to explain. Anyway, as in the process of shit like coming out of my body, because I would hang out kind of just behind my eyes a bit, kind of like a drone just following me around, me and my mate around. But that was me. That was my awareness. I was just back there, like my attention. You know, if you hurt your ankle and you focus your attention on something else, the pain subsides to whatever degree. This is like that, where that attention is your actual identity. That is what is actually real. Because when you, like, if you think that you are your thoughts and stuff like that, well, you're not, because they're temporary. Each thought is different. Each thought isn't an identity. It's a chance for the ego to identify with them, but they're just like clouds. They just come and go constantly. But yeah, my awareness would just shift out, and I would just be aware that I'm just out of the body of Morkai and out of the mind. And in the process of that, the body and mind would resist it, but I'd counteract that by going, well, what am I afraid of? And then what ifs and buts would come up, and justification for anxiety. And then I would counter that by saying, well, it's just me though. If I believe that I am everything and I believe that, you don't have to believe that, it's completely fine. This is just my philosophy, my worldview. If I believe that, then why am I running away from it? This is literally putting the theory to this is prac. You know, in school you have theory and prac, everyone fucking hates theory and everyone just wants to prac. Well, I've only been able to do theory because it's such a fucking vast topic. I've had prac experiences before, but not with the theory. It's more just like, whoa, I'm tripping out, this is fucking crazy. And yeah, so just counteracting that fear and anxiety, that irrationality with, it's just me. I'm not scared of myself, am I? And I go, no. And then it's just like, well, what am I afraid of? And then nothing. And then bang, just pure ecstasy, just complete, like better than taking MDMA or cocaine or any like dopamine releasing drug. Because it's from you, it's pure, it's ridiculous, it's fuck. Like I can't even comprehend. I couldn't even comprehend the depth of the ecstasy that I was feeling, or the just pure love and joy for myself and for everything. And once I was out there, I could dip back into my body and then come back out into the field of consciousness. And what I experience was I experienced consciousness as a field, kind of like if you picture an object and you picture like a force field or a magnetic field around it, or just some field where, or think of air molecules as a better one, where it's not just an outline, it's not just a shell, it's like, it's everything, it's the whole substrate, it's a substance, or atoms, if you think of it like that, everything is made out of atoms. And what atoms are made out of are small subatomic particles. You keep going down and you just get to the unifying field of consciousness. I think scientists now are starting to come around to this idea as well, which is good for people that still hold science at such a high level and think that science is fundamental. But yeah, experiencing consciousness as a field, like an energetic field, like I would come out into this field and see the entire universe and the world for what it is, and then I'd go into it a bit and I'd look closely and see that it's just a localized point within the field of consciousness itself. But what it is it's like a focus point of energy. So there's energy out here, but the energy here is so focused that bang, the appearance of matter and form arises, or is arising constantly, is being upheld by this concentration of energy or consciousness. This is just my theory. And so each individual object, or each thing that's separate, whether it's time, whether it's the past, which is separate from now, because it's past, it's not now, or the future, or a thought, or a leaf, or a shit, or a cow, or a dog, or a donkey, or a fucking house, or a brick, carrot, blade of grass, a pencil, whatever it is, anything, it's all just localized points within the field of consciousness. And going back and forth between that constantly was just so cool, because it really just put it into perspective. I can't talk. Put it into perspective for me. Just about how in my opinion, reality works, how consciousness works, what it is, what it fucking feels like, practical implications of it. And I've wanted to have an actual understanding through experience of the non-dual nature of reality for ages now, and not just philosophize about it and theorize about it and have it as theory. I wanted to actually, I've been just having this desire to experience it for so long, and I have on my DMT trip where I was that awareness, but this time I was out in the open, coming out of my body and back into it. And it was really cool. One more thing I want to mention is when you're in that zone, I was thinking of, because I was still thinking, part of Morkai was still there, because I could still remember things. I still had a past. I still knew I had parents. And also death meant nothing to me in that zone. It really helped with the idea of death. And I'll do a separate video because that's a really good, juicy topic. Everyone thinks they're afraid of death, but they're afraid of life ending, which is a difference. But I'll save that for another video. Yeah, death meant nothing. It just meant that this body that I've been occupying for 20 years is going to degrade over time, and then merge back within the earth, and then merge back into consciousness, which is me. And then I'm just going to be back to God mode, back to pulling all the strings. But yeah, when I was thinking and just tinkering, because I had so much to fucking new information to work with, which was so cool, I would just tinker with it and try to figure out what was going on and stuff like that. And then in the idea of, like, I think it was a lighter or something, an object being an object and not me, something being separate from me, that was just the idea of that was ludicrous. it made no sense. It made no fucking sense whatsoever. Which to you is going to sound so weird because you most likely don't perceive reality as a whole, and I don't perceive it that way either. But I'm moving towards perceiving it that way, just at whatever degree I am sober, and then also if I'm tripping or if I'm in meditation or just some state pushing me towards that zone. But yeah, it was really funny recognizing that thought, because I remember thinking, hang on, but when I'm sober, or when I was sober, I perceived everything as subject-object, but now it's just subject. It was so funny just thinking of a lighter as separate. I was like, no, it's not. How the fuck can it be separate when it's all one thing? When everything is all just bound together by the glue of consciousness. So funny. But I'll just talk quickly about implications for my mental health and the development of Morkai, and how it's helped with the issues that come along with my mind, my ego. In situations now, I have a lot more motivation to just go into the uncomfort and just do it, because I have so much theory about it all, but I still have whatever degree, varying degrees in different situations of anxiety or fear holding me back. Whether it's fear of judgment, fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty, fear of emptiness, fear of loneliness, fear of whatever. Anxiety is fear, and it falls under, it can be spread out among all of those. Yeah, I'm able now to, only a little bit because I haven't been just acting on it as much, but I'm able to just ask that person what I want to fucking ask him. You know what I mean? Just small little things like that, which have helped me along the way so much, and then just an extra little push in that direction, which is really helpful. And then what else? Not a very rough week recently, but let's just say I had a big weekend, and I definitely was experiencing symptoms of depression throughout the week, but they were very mild, and I was frothing because it's a really good opportunity for me to test all these tools I've been working on, and these ideas and concepts and ways to work with the depression or work with the issue instead of avoiding it, or seeing the issue come up and then literally visualizing a toolbar opening and then going, alright, I'm going to pick comfort, or I'm going to pick meditation, or I'm going to pick support, I'm going to pick facing it front on, or I'm going to pick putting myself in an uncomfortable situation, stuff like that. And it's helped with that because experiencing myself as the present moment, which is everything, and going in that moment, going like, whatever I'm fearful of is me, and I don't want to be fearful of myself. So, and then that would just help unravel that fear and wash it away, because it's not actually real. What I'm fearful of is nothing, it's me. And then with the past week, whenever I just feel down or whatever, facing it front on, because I used a variety of techniques. I used like escape, I used comfort, I used meditation, I used like contemplation, a few other different ones, and just seeing which ones worked the best and stuff. And then yeah, just the whole time just going, well, I'm just resisting myself, I'm just resisting the present moment, which is me. I know it's me, I've experienced it as myself, I believe it. No, I don't even believe it, I know it. That's a big thing as well, letting go of belief and taking on knowing, just knowing that that's how it is, not believing it. And yeah, it's helped with that heaps, because of that thought of it's just me, and I'm comfortable with myself. I love my body, I love Morkai, I love my mind, and I love the awareness aspect of myself as well, because it's so natural, it's so still and peaceful, because there's no thought there, so there's no suffering whatsoever. And I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's it. Helped with just being authentic to what I'm thinking, just acting on it. Only in a little bit so far, because it's only been about 2 weeks, I think. And then helping with the depression, which wasn't big depression at all, which was good, because I didn't want to. It was a good level to test to dip my toe into depression, not on purpose, but I was there, so I was like, fuck it, I'm experiencing this. Let's just see what there is here and how we can work with it. And so it helped with that as well. I think that's it. I'm just gonna keep thinking and rambling anyway. But I think they're the main points that I wanted to get across. But yeah, so I'll make another video about non-duality, what it is, because all of the Eastern spiritual and spiritual traditions and religions, even Christianity at its core, they're all founded upon this idea that God is you. It's all of us. It's that awareness or attention behind thought, because you're not your thoughts. You're not. A thought is exactly like a cloud, like the sky. The universe or space is you, because it's just space, and the cloud appears within the space, just like a thought. You are the space in which the thoughts appear, and you are that space which is aware of it, and you are aware of your thoughts. You're aware that you're angry or pissed off or sad, or that you like that person, or that you're thinking whatever, or that you're judging them, or that tree, the leaves on the tree are green. And that voice that you're talking to, or that's talking in your head, that's not you. You're the one that's aware of it, and you know deep down that you're aware of it, because that's you. Can't remember why I started that, but yeah, I like that cloud analogy though. I've never used it before. But anyway, I hope, if you think I'm crazy, fair enough, I don't blame you. Without this context, I would watch a video like this and go, that dude's like pretty far off in the distance I am from like conventional life, especially from how I was prior to spirituality and stuff. But it's to me it's truth, and to me it's happiness. I'm so happy all the fucking time because of this. And that's all that matters to me. I don't care if I'm perceived as crazy, because all of reality is just one big perception of consciousness anyway, so it doesn't matter. But hopefully you were able to this wasn't too far off down the track of spirituality and stuff, because spirituality points in this direction. It was founded upon this belief that we're all one. You hear the term oneness and connection and unity get thrown around a lot, but a lot of people don't know what that means, and they haven't experienced it, and they can't wrap their heads around it, which is true, because it's infinity. You can't wrap a finite thing around an infinite thing, space-wise and thought-wise too. But yeah, hopefully you were able to take some information out of this or just make any sense of it whatsoever. But anyway, it's helped me put this stuff together, and that's a major reason of why I do these videos anyway, just to help myself understand it better. But yeah, catch you guys in the next video. I don't know when that will be or what that one will be about, because it'll just happen. But yeah, hopefully there will be another video. Who knows?